And we're live with the drum roll. What's up, folks? How you guys doing? Colin, we're in the 90s.
We're in the 90s. I gotta go change that.
Episode 90. Frag Logic. Welcome, welcome. Colin is here, as you guys can see. Thought he was going to get caught up at work today, but he did manage to come through. Good, lucky for me, because I didn't have time to organize a group chat, Google style overlay and all that stuff. So, Colin, Skyless, aka Colin.
You got my camera way in again.
No, I don't.
It's way in.
It's not me.
I am 4 feet from my computer right now.
You need to be like 10 feet.
Just all the way out here.
So today we have, I had a couple topics in here, but, you know, based off of the video I posted on YouTube, plus, you know, thinking that Colin wasn't going to be here today, I switched over a lot of the topics today to subscriber or viewer topics. So there's quite a few. So we're going to try to just burn through these as quickly as we can. To try
some good ones, too.
Yeah, some really, really good ones to try to get as many as we can. We're going to shoot for an hour-ish show. So should be fun tonight. I'm not going to go over all the topics because there's just way too many for me to just rattle off. So we're going to do our normal weekend gaming. The Hatred trailer is something a lot of people want to talk about. Let's see. I think I mentioned next big competitive title and the title, stream title, and Destiny's content, right? Like, what's their content plan? What's their end game for the holiday season starts rolling around? So let's go ahead and start off with weekend gaming. Colin, you can start off this week. Start off.
Sure. I played some Dota. I did the raid in Destiny. So I guess you could say I played Destiny.
Okay.
I've been on this Terra Battle grind still. We talked about it last week. iOS app from Mistwalker Studios.
Yep.
Quite a good game. Quite a good game. So I've been still on that grind. I actually started re-rolling my character because, you know, at the beginning of the game you get 2 random cards.
Mm-hmm.
Well, you get 1 and then you enter a gift card thing in order to get another. So I've been re-rolling to try and get a nice combo before I restart and do the run. So those were it. Play some Dota, a little bit of Destiny, and some Terra Battle.
That's pretty much mine. Destiny, did the raid. I actually have more Destiny gameplay than Colin because, you know, he doesn't like the game as much as me. So I rolled Titan. I did that like a couple weeks ago, but I didn't actually play through it. I went from level 2 to level 20 in 8 hours. I did 4 hours on Friday night. Saturday I went to the beach, got back real late. I don't think I played at all. And then Sunday evening I played another 4 hours and then finished off, I think it was at level 12 or 14, 12 or 13, I'm sorry. Then went all the way to 20. And basically I was doing this to see how difficult it is to play Titan. I still have to unlock like 8 abilities. But most of this is like, hey, you know, people have been saying they can't deal with Blink, or the Titan doesn't really have great PvP skills. For the most part, I would agree that saying that the Titan doesn't have great is not a character I would choose first for PvP. I think we had made that assessment way back in the beta, just looking at the abilities and saying, no, you know, some of these other things seem a little bit better.
That shoulder charge, though.
That being said, shoulder charge is really good. But that being said, after playing with the Titan, having a limited number of abilities, and kind of assessing actually how I'm playing the game, the fucking abilities have minimal impact on your performance. It is all about your weapons, Colin. It is, and I actually looked at my hunter, or I'm sorry, my Warlock stats, and less than 10%, I think it's like at 9.85% of my kills are actually from my supers. And there's something like maybe 20% or 25% of my kills overall are from abilities. That includes melee, which is energy drain, and grenades also count as ability kills. So, you know, looking at it from that perspective, I can't really say I rely too much on abilities. At the end of the day, I was looking at my stats. I mean, I'm sniping people. I was using auto rifles a lot beforehand, but on my Titan, my sniper accuracy is 62%. So basically, over half of my shots I'm hitting. I have the most kills with my sniper, and then second I think is auto rifles for both classes, because sniper is first for both, and then auto rifles, and then pulse I think is next. So looking at the breakdown, I mean, I'm not using abilities to get kills. I'm using abilities for, specifically I think for the Warlock, to evade with Blink, and for the most part I'm just setting up more kills with my actual weapons. So you know, the argument that that the game, or at least in PvP, it's all about abilities, and I can't quite agree with it based on the stats that I'm looking at myself. I think maybe having Blink, it might set up some different situations that it might enable me to get a squeak out a few more kills, but I mean, the proof is in the pudding. So you know, it's been an interesting journey, like I said, getting my KD back up to par, because when you start off, dude, levels 2 through about 7 or 8, which is before I could get my sniper, so rough. Like, I was going like 0.8, 1.0 KD, 1.1, and every now and again I'd have a fantastic game that'll bump it back up. But I was like at a 1.0 KD up until like level 7, and then from 7 to 20 I was starting to really tear people up with the sniper. And then by the end of it, I'm sitting at like a 1.5 KD. The funny thing is, like, had one of the guys that has been kind of propelled this whole argument. I think his name is Windshear on YouTube. He's I believe he plays Battlefield, but he's a Titan guy. He was saying that he called me a COD player because I was talking about KD. And for it didn't make any sense to me for the argument, because
what else would you argue when Destiny is all team deathmatch modes?
Right. I was playing Clash. I wasn't playing Control. The gameplay that you were watching was Clash. The only measurement that I'm actually looking at for my overall like performance, to gauge my own performance, is KD, right? Like, I'm not playing Control, so I'm not going for points per second or points per minute. So that just makes absolutely no sense. Even Control,
that's a fine metric in Control.
So I mean, you know, it's hard to try to have these conversations around the game when you have people like, oh, all you're concerned about is KD, you COD player. You must be a COD player, and I'm like, really? Like, come on now. So I'm trying to remain objective with it, and trying to show people. I did the same thing with Gears when people were talking about you couldn't move around the maps with the Nashter, and then I did the Mr. Nasty series, which was all I did was pull out my shotgun and just run around the map and blow people up. Oh my god, the stopping power is so ridiculous, I can't move. Meanwhile, I have 25 kills with the Nasher, only using that all game. So I kind of like debunking and challenging myself where other people are having obstacles, and maybe that'll either help them, you know, see how I'm playing, and so they can kind of mimic it, or so they can objectively say, oh, well, maybe I'm not quite good enough to get there. Maybe I'm actually just not good. And then reassess my own, you know, player ability versus everyone else. So those are the reasons that I kind of like doing that. And then I played some UT. Getting my ass whooped by the community right now. It's just because I've been playing so infrequently. So if you guys didn't see, we actually announced last week, like Friday or Thursday of last week, it could have been Monday actually, that UT is actually in the launcher now, for the Unreal Engine launcher. So if you have the Unreal Engine, and I think if you're in
that's what that meant. Hold up.
And you can log into the and you actually have to log into the forums.
I misunderstood that.
You should be able to play UT. So I'm just throwing that out there. So my performance in UT has been get smashed early on, like for the first 10 games, 15 games maybe, and then by game like 16, 17, 18, then I start to do a little bit better, but I'm still not winning. Like the people that are playing are so ridiculously good because they've been playing so long. It's fun though. It's super fun. So I hope to see some of you guys in UT on PC very, very soon. Get that work.
I gotta find this. Is there a setup thread on the forums?
Could be. I haven't looked.
I set up the project and everything earlier, but I didn't know there was a quick launcher. All right.
That's a new project for Colin right now.
Just getting it set up was kind of a pain because I had an issue. But
gotta get that UT going. So let's go ahead and start with some of these topics. I wanted to start off with the Hatred trailer. It's been on fire this past week, basically, since they debuted the trailer Friday, Thursday.
Sure, I think
Thursday or Friday. Look, I'm not gonna link the trailer. I think it's hot garbage. I think it's very tactful, or I'm sorry, tactless. Yes. Tacky.
That's exactly. It's hot garbage, which is why no one should have even talked about it.
Right.
It should have just died. It should have just died right away. No one should have mentioned it. No press should have covered it. It should have just gone. Like, look, that's how you deal with garbage. Like, you don't. How often have you like heard someone write like a really awful book, and it gets fucking covered by all the news because it's ridiculous? Like, how often does that happen? That never happens.
It never happens.
If someone writes an awful book, no one reads it.
But you know what? Games are different, though. Look. Here, Colin, I don't feel like that's fair. I don't feel like that's a fair assessment. All right, let's go. Let's go with this. If you have an awful movie.
Sure.
Terrible movie.
In theaters.
Sometimes it's so bad.
If it gets 2 theaters. That's what you're talking about, right?
Yes, right. Sometimes it gets so bad that it ends up being a cult classic. There are plenty of examples. Hell, our boy Nicolas Cage is part of that discussion on bad movies or bad actors and their cult following. All right.
How is it comparable, though?
It is comparable because in games there is a very similar trend where extremely bad games get a lot of press coverage because of how bad they are.
You can't compare Wicker Man to the Hatred trailer.
I'm not trying to compare the two.
That is absolutely ridiculous.
But I'm saying that your argument falls apart when you say we shouldn't be talking about it because it's a bad game. I'm just saying it's a bad trailer. I didn't like the trailer. We don't know anything about the gameplay. The trailer was awful.
Bad movies get attention because of their massive budget and the people involved. Not necessarily like this is from a no-name developer who I don't believe has ever made a game. Making a crappy-ass game with no one tied to it. And it's not even like a high-budget game. Like, why is there any press whatsoever? This is the equivalent of like someone doing a home movie. An awful home movie.
Yo.
It's like you and I recreating Wicker Man in an apartment and then releasing that to the world. And the press covering it. Like, why would the press ever cover that? They have no business covering that. They have no business covering Hatred. All they had to do was just not fucking talk about it, and it would have gone away immediately. Well, instead, everyone's giving them the press. They've given a bunch of press to trash. It's just trash. You said it yourself. It's trash. The writing is trash. Like, just let it die. Just let it die.
Well, look.
It's not like fucking Quentin Tarantino worked on this game. Right? Like it's not like Quentin Tarantino is making a statement with the game.
That's true.
Like, it's no one. It's a nobody. It's a nobody with a no-name game. And some reason we gave it all this fucking press. Why? The writing is horrendous alone. Like, it has no standing values as a game.
Colin, it's 100% action, man.
It's strictly media. Strictly media.
There's a quote where...
Strictly press.
They wanted to cut out all the BS, basically, right? And they just wanted... Gaming is entertainment. They don't want none of the fluff. They're tired of the culture, basically, of games right now where it's all so friendly and... man, I gotta read the quote.
Sure, I could write that on a blog right now. No one's gonna fucking talk about my blog. I could write that exact statement. Hell, we could say it on the show. We could say it right now. I could read that exact statement word for word with a straight face. And no one would say anything. No one would say anything. some of the viewers of the show might watch or might say something, but the press ain't gonna cover it.
Huh.
Like no one would say anything.
Colin, look.
Why do you give this legitimacy by talking about it? Like, why does anyone do that?
Trix is exclaiming why. Ebola, swine flu, Y2K, 2012, Obama's the Antichrist, all that shit.
Those are all real issues. Oh, well, you slipped one in there. You slipped one in there at the end. Ebola is a real issue to some people. Actually, quite a few people in Africa right now. Swine flu was a real issue to a portion of people. Obviously, it's not the end of the world. It was never really the case. Y2K was something that could have happened, although that was a bit of bullshit. Like, those are all real issues. Someone making a shitty game about a shitty topic just shouldn't get covered. That's ridiculous. It's ridiculous.
All right, so for those of you guys that don't know, because we haven't described what this trailer is, and like I said, I'm not going to show it. I think it's garbage.
It is garbage, exactly. No one should have shown it. No one should have shared it.
Basically,
they should have been limited to a tweet. Man, I just saw some garbage.
This guy opens up with a monologue talking about how he hates the world.
An awfully written monologue.
And he wants to unleash mass homicide, genocide, and wants to kill all these innocent people. And then it goes through basically the most brutal executions I've ever seen on innocent people. Some of them are screaming like, "Oh no, don't do it!" Bam, shotgun to the face, killing police officers, yada yada yada, so on and so forth. And there's no story there, just no story, except from what we saw anyway, except for this guy's mad at the world, wants to kill innocent people, and you just run around massacring people. All right. Obviously, some of let's mention some of the quick arguments people have made that I've seen. Why is this a big deal? Grand Theft Auto has done this. Why is this a big deal? There's tons of shooter games out there. Why is this a big deal? This is a form of art and expression. Someone out there wants to play it. Those are all valid points, I think. I think those are all valid points. However, none of those games, and the last point about this being a form of art, I don't think anything has explicitly, and maybe up until this point, been like, we don't have a story. You're just going to shoot innocent people. The bigger issue here, I feel like, from a developer standpoint, because there's a lot of devs talking about it, is where does this stand? I think on the moral scale of game development. Does this cross the line? And that's why
doesn't matter. It doesn't matter.
It's getting a lot of discussion, right?
Doesn't matter.
That's the only reason.
Doesn't matter. It's at the end of the scale, but it doesn't matter because it's shit. It doesn't matter.
So what if it was good?
If it was a good game with nothing to say?
So yeah. So let's remove the fact that the game is garbage, and let's talk about it from the standpoint of, okay, some AAA developer. I'm not going to explicitly name any specific one, but some AAA developer that we all know, we all love. They release this game, no plot, always get us that monologue, and the gameplay on it looks fantastic, but you're just shooting innocent people.
The name Grand Theft Auto, right?
Do you?
Kind of do.
But Grand Theft Auto has a story.
With the ridiculous monologue. I mean, the writing is part of what makes it shit, right?
True.
Like, have you seen the movie Death Proof? It was by Quentin Tarantino.
I probably have. I don't remember that movie specifically.
It's essentially a guy, like, he drives a car and locks people at the back of his car and basically just drives them to death. That's essentially the plot of the movie.
Or American Psycho.
Or American Psycho. Like, anything where it's just been about some crazy person killing people. Like, there's been movies that have covered the topic or similar. I can name a bunch of metal songs that basically describe the exact same thing that that trailer had. Right. Again, we just don't talk about it. Like, that's not it's not the game that you would play. Obviously, you say whatever you want at that point. You can tell other people not to play it because it's not right, whatever. But at the end of the day, like, just don't play it. It sucks. Don't talk about it.
Well, look,
this has no grounds to even be discussed because it's clearly a shitty game with awful, awful dialogue and nothing to say.
Look, Colin, you're hitting it home. I agree with you. I think it's terrible. But I think the issue that everyone kind of has with is, like, the moral scale of Should this be developed? Should this be a game? Should people be allowed to play it? Personally, you know,
if they know what they're getting into, why shouldn't they?
yeah, that's my personal.
It's not like
feelings.
it's being marketed as like a fucking kids game. It's not like it's not even really being marketed. The press is marketing it for them.
Would you sell? Would this be a game where if a kid came up to you at the register, you'd be
it wouldn't be in the store shelf because the store wouldn't sell it. Which is why we have a rating system, right?
Correct.
This falls under like Postal, which didn't get sold in stores.
Yep.
And there's very few games that do it because it's not monetarily viable at all, right? To make a game like this, because it's a very niche audience that would purchase the game in the first place.
Yep.
So again, like if there's a niche audience that enjoys it, fine, whatever.
Let it go. Let it be.
That's it. That's it. That's it.
So another question I got to ask you. Is this something that, because it's a PC title, right? Is this something that you think Steam would distribute?
Probably not. I think they probably have grounds in their terms of use to not distribute it. Okay. Again, that's a retailer decision.
Right.
And that's a decision that retailers make. They can sell it on their website. That's pretty much it, right?
Yeah, yeah. Armada has a good point. If you know, if it was replaced with innocent people, zombies, or I'm sorry,
zombies in there.
Innocent people with zombies or vampires or something like that, I don't think people would have aliens. There would be no issue with it.
Well, it'd still be an awful game, to be clear. It would still be an awful game with awful writing and awful dialogue.
Colin is relentless right now.
To be clear.
Okay.
Dude, that monologue is the worst monologue I've ever heard in a trailer. Actually, that's not true. There was that game from the Duke Nukem devs recently. Find that. But it's up there. It's up there.
Armada, yeah, that's another good point. It is. It's really on the parents if they let kids play the games like that. Like, you know, we can be huffing and puffing all we want to. If a developer wants to make a game like this, they have every right to. Now, again, here's where the story gets interesting, though, Colin.
There's analogs all over the place in the form of books and music and movies. Like, it's all over the place. For the fact there's a game like this is nothing.
Here's where the story gets interesting, all right? Remember, the theme of this is to kill innocent bystanders because you just hate the world. Jaroslaw Zelensky, and this is a Polish studio making this game. Again, this is another thing that I think is really interesting, Colin. That whole area, anything close to Germany, which is all anti-violence and stuff, like, that's crazy to me that they're doing this, right? So, all right, never mind that. But Jaroslaw Zelensky, CEO of Destructive Creations, which is the studio making this game, is some people were unearthing some things about this guy, and he apparently likes on Facebook a neo-Nazi group, which is essentially a hate group on Facebook. Now, his exact words, and I am reading this verbatim, as for me, supposedly supporting Polska Liga Obrony on Facebook, I've liked this page because it's a source of information what is going on right now in the Middle East and Europe, and a lot of evil shit is going on. Those are real problems, not our game. Some things media would not show nor tell, so no, I'm not any kind of supporter. Goes on to say, I don't watch TV, I don't have time to follow all the news. If there's some evil shit going if there's evil shit going, that is going on in Europe or Middle East, I get the message on my wall. That's simply the only reason I've liked this page. And I don't see how giving a like is a threaten as supporting something. Alright, so there's two issues. There's two issues that I have with this. It doesn't matter. That's fine. There's two issues.
Why are we even investigating this dude? Why does it matter?
Look, this is what was said. Right? Like people want to know. People want to know. People asked us to talk about this. They want to know.
I'm saying it doesn't matter. There's no reason to be talking about it. Again, if you and I recorded Wicker Man, no one would be like, oh man, I don't know. Where do those guys' thoughts on Blink?
They have the microscope on this dude.
No one would care.
So look, I don't understand how you can use a hate group as a source of information on news about evil shit that's going on. That's one thing. The other thing I'm going to mention is like, look, the KKK exists. I'm not fucking liking the KKK's page so I can keep up with what the fuck the KKK is doing. his argument doesn't even make sense. You don't like things on Facebook that you don't like. Like, sure, some people do for, oh, they got this deal going on. Maybe they got baited in there, and I like this because I wanted a deal on a fucking coupon or something. I wanted some percentage off. But you don't go to the fucking KKK and be like, I'm gonna like this page. Like, who the fuck does that? Like, no one does that in the U.S. Like, if they're not supporting the KKK, why the fuck would you like a KKK group? That doesn't make sense. So a neo-Nazi group in Poland or wherever the hell it is, and also he's shown in a picture. This is told for me off source, and this is not listed there, but he's in a picture wearing this shirt that is basically supporting this group. So his holes all over this shit, right? Like, that doesn't make sense to me.
I don't even want to talk about it. He did expand on everything on his descriptions.
That's fine.
Said,
it just doesn't make sense.
He said the shirt was referring to National Polish Army troops that in 1945 refused to lay down arms, continue fighting against the new invader to remain independent Poland, blah, 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 blah. Just saying. There's just no reason to talk about it at all. There's none. There's none. I mean, the whole thing doesn't deserve any attention. The guy himself doesn't deserve any attention. It all should just go away. Everything.
I agree with you. The best way to hit
the fucking Polygon headline is "Team Behind Hatred lashes out in blog post. Thanks press for attention." That's the headline of an article on Polygon.
Yeah.
Why?
Yeah.
Why? Like, thanks press for attention. Well, you're fucking giving it to him.
Hey,
just let it go away.
That's why I didn't want to show the trailer. There's no reason to show the trailer. Just talk about it.
I wish my awful spaghetti art got this kind of attention. I swear.
So clearly, if you're on YouTube and you haven't seen this game, it's called Hatred trailer. You can look it up. I'm not going to show it. Clearly, there's some stuff going on with the game. Media's been giving it a lot of attention. They played the media very well. Obviously, people. I can't remember who exactly from our group on our page in that video I made wanted us to talk about it. I need to make sure I call them out before we switch topics because I'm going to call out everybody else. I just want to be fair. This was... Oh, Armada. He's already in here. Big Armada. Alright, so there you go. We talked about Hatred.
Yeah, thanks, Trix. Can we spend some of this press on games that didn't get enough attention? That'd be nice.
Right?
Right?
That would be fantastic. Alright.
Like Gotham City Imposters.
This is a real quick... If you guys didn't see this headline, I just got to mention it real quick as a part of our transition. But hoverboard, Colin.
Did you see my tweet for the topics for the show? I think you should have picked the hoverboard more. That's all.
Hoverboard, baby. Finally.
But not really. It's a hoverboard for houses, Colin, not for people.
Listen. We're almost here. Why you got don't be the DOF.
No, this is super fun.
No,
it's super fun for houses. It's just not fun for me. Super fun for houses and trains.
Don't be the DOF right now.
Not so fun for people.
Did you see the video that I posted? It's a hold on. Let me get this topic. The video that I posted, at the end of the video, they showed it on this surface where they actually were moving it around, like better than you standing on it and then floating with the momentum that carries you. Right. Obviously, this is very early build, but finally one that fucking works. That's all I've been looking for. One that fucking works, and it uses the same type of technology that I envisioned in my head. Take some magnets, put a magnetic field underneath the hoverboard, and voila, you have...
Yeah, how hard is it, right?
How hard is that? I mean,
just to flip a magnet over, right?
We're only in the year 2014.
Why this takes so long? Magnets don't stick together.
Fucking magnets.
Really easy.
So
it's always how I envisioned it.
the one thing that I guess we should mention here, obviously, again, it's super loud. That's one thing we need to mention. The other thing is that you need some type of metallic surface that obviously counteracts the magnets that are in the board so that you can levitate.
A really
And they were
powerful
using
surface.
yes, they were using a copper floor. They built a copper ramp and a copper floor. So basically, all we need to do is turn the sidewalks into copper, and I think we're good.
We solved it right now. We were trying to get rid of it. We've been trying to get rid of the penny for years.
Look,
all we had to do is just line all the floors with pennies.
We're good. We're good.
Put some sealant on that bitch and we're set. 2 problems solved at once.
So ideally, from the video, the founder, I don't know his name, but he said that they want to, obviously, furniture is something that they want to move bigger objects. And buildings was something that they thought about using it for in earthquake areas, which is a pretty good idea. But it seems like we're pretty far from that technology being viable.
Would you be okay with your building just floating on a magnet?
Yeah, it'd be like a big ass base.
It seems so dangerous. Just everything will just slowly slide off the plate.
as long as you're locked into place, like it's good. Like I imagine. Here's the thing. I think it would be sabotaged easily. So like, imagine someone coming underneath.
Oh man, that's some supervillain shit.
It's like blowing up your.
Magneto shows up.
Blows up the bottom of your magnets, and then the building is like, you know, off its balance, and then starts falling. Actually, that's a really bad idea. I don't want those on buildings. Fuck that. You want to move some furniture? Like, this would be great for furniture moving business. Just slap your couch on some magnets, throw down a copper sheet, push it right on along. That'd be fucking awesome.
Yeah.
Be amazing.
And trains is the obvious one.
They already have those, though.
They already have some, yeah.
Yeah, so that's not...
Like I said, technology isn't really new.
Jerry, yeah, the hoverboard looks cool, but that shit is loud and worse than nails on a chalkboard. Yeah, they need to work on the sound. So had to show that off because it's fucking amazing. It's
pretty cool.
We're almost there, guys. 1 year later than Marty McFly. 1 year later. Colin, do you want to mention the death threats to Steam?
Oh man, you're killing me today. I'll do the quick and I'll do the quick and dirty version.
Okay, yeah, there we go. We just hit it, and then we move to the subtopics.
Developer Paranormal Activity, which is a game that released this week, had some confusion with the way his game was listed on Steam, and went to Twitter to vent and sent Gabe Newell essentially a death threat. Obviously, it was an empty death threat. I think it is pretty apparent, but it was still a death threat on Twitter. So Steam responded by pulling the game from their store, which obviously sucked for them. And the developer then stepped down from the studio with it's a pretty weak apology, but it was an apology for the tweet, and that's where that's at. Takeaway: don't tweet stupid shit. Although I still do think that Steam probably overreacted. That's my 2 cents.
I'm not going to mention too much with this. I will say that in the UK, they just changed this rule. In the UK, death threats are now, you can be sentenced up to 2 years in prison in the UK for death threats.
What constitutes a death threat, though?
Saying that you're going to fucking kill someone.
But what if I say it like in the context of, like, man, I swear my mom threatened to kill me a lot sometimes because I'd screw shit up and I'd like make a mess and it's like, oh, I'm gonna kill you. You say it like under stress, just say it, but you don't mean it, right?
Well,
so would that constitute 2 years in prison?
I don't know. Well, you were in person saying it, right? They're talking about online.
Sure. That's even less. That's even more empty, I feel like. Unless it's like a full-on letter where you have like, if you spent time on it, clip things out of magazines, maybe that should count. If you spend the time doing some arts and crafts, then I think it counts. But if I took 5 seconds to write a tweet, I'm not sure it should count.
Okay,
That's,
whatever.
that's my 2 cents on death threats.
You guys want to read the?
This show.
I hate when it fucking does that with the
The
Google
Google
links.
links. Yeah, you gotta be on top of things.
Ugh, I should have just copied this. I'm fucking. There's a clean link. Anyway, moving on to some of the subscriber topics. These are the meat and potatoes of the show. We got 25 minutes till 10, so we'll try to.
Whoa, Nemo, 2 years for everyone in the world.
Yep.
He said it online. He said it online. I'm going to kill the world.
Oh, fight me, world.
It's what? 2 years times several billion.
So 343. Several billion. 343 Black Tusk. Teamwork.
Metallica, kill them all. Man, that's a call to action.
Yeah.
That's
This is from
several hundred years.
Justin Do. I don't. He probably needs to elaborate a little bit more on this as a topic, but I'm assuming that he's wanting to know thoughts on 343 and Black Tusk's relationship and how they could be symbiotic, I guess, across their development. And I think Skyless and I mentioned this 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago, about possibly seeing some crossover in development because they're both Microsoft-owned studios. So, yeah, sure, they might be able to work on some stuff. And you know, it could be likely that we see some crossover with either, you know, how they develop some of the features for the games, you know, be it playlist structure, multiplayer, maybe some tournaments between the games, because Halo, obviously tournaments, maybe Halo can feed off of the Gears community, and those two can kind of be neck and neck with support from Microsoft. And then just kind of sharing ideas, maybe, you know, having them be there and say, hey, how'd you guys solve this for multiplayer or campaign or whatever the case may be. I think we'll see some possible things that kind of come out of them being so close and being owned by Microsoft. That's really all I can assess based off of the comment that was left there from Justin. Opinion on Sony's esports focus in Spain. This is from the Rhino772. So, Colin, PlayStation League program.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. I actually looked into the website. I was translating from Spanish to English. So I'm sure some of the stuff gets lost in translation, but it looks just like a straight up like game battles. They're not doing any automated reporting as far as I can tell. It's just straight up like you go into a little mini tournament, you play your matches, you report the results, take pictures for evidence even, like all that stuff. And then you get prizes.
Seems like you could just say such and such, record that, and then post that as your evidence.
Yeah, like there's easy ways to take screenshots, provide evidence now.
Yep.
But at the end of the day, like disputes are still handled by a person, right? Like there's no automated system to verify results.
Right.
And ultimately, that makes scalability extremely difficult. And that's something which I think every online league has struggled with, is that it gets really expensive the more players you get. So I think it's going to have a lot of trouble scaling, just looking at it. The prizes are okay. First place was like 1,000 PlayStation points or whatever, I think it was.
1,000 euros.
Oh, no, sorry. A year of PlayStation Plus, 1,000 euros.
Yeah.
On the store, not actual dollars. It's
Exactly.
Money to spend on PlayStation games, which is kind of a hollow prize. And then second through 10th, or second through 5th, I'll see like $500. And 6th to 10th get $100. But it is a platform for publishers and developers to possibly do more in terms of prizes.
Yep.
Which I think is the biggest thing. It's an official platform. They'll have all the structure in place to be able to run it. I just don't think they'll be able to scale and make it work. Especially with every dispute you get is all of a sudden an argument with the platform. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like all of a sudden you're arguing with Sony employees about your result. And if they make a bad call, it's Sony that fucked you over, and not like Game Battle or some third party that you can blame, which ultimately breeds negativity more so than any kind of positivity. Unless they get some auto-reporting going. Auto-report is where it needs to go, and that's where everything needs to start shifting towards if these larger official leagues are going to be successful.
I think the big thing that I have here is like obviously we're very very scarce on details right now, and it's hard for me to say this without knowing more information. But I feel like there was a bunch of execs in a room, maybe some people at Sony was like, hey, esports is big right now. We should make a PlayStation League platform or program or something like that. We should somehow try to incorporate esports. And all the issues that you brought up, those are all issues that we've encountered on game battles. But
yeah, they're not new by any means.
Yeah, the people that are working there, though, have been doing this for years and years and years. And now we have a new league, which is going to basically incorporate the same issues that we already had with game battles, but they're all going to be brand new to this shit. And so I feel like it's going to be, like you said, a cesspool of toxic activity and behavior because of, and not saying that game battles isn't, but because they are so new, there's going to be a ton of why would you not dispute every match? Like that's just what people are going to do. So I feel like they need to be ready, 100% ready for all of the shit that they're going to get from competitive folks that aren't really. Those are the people that give you bad names for being pro players. I also want to know like how this is going to scale. They're starting off in Spain, and then it's going to go to some European countries. I think like France, Italy.
It was Italy and Portugal.
Else. Portugal, okay. Are going to be the first ones. So maybe we'll see something here in North America. Maybe we won't. Obviously, I think the big thing that we all need to take away from this from an esports community is, will this work? Is this scalable? So that's one of the things that I'm kind of concerned with right now.
Side note, ESL released a Xbox One app today.
Did they?
Yep. You can view your matches and your cups, and it like shows your upcoming matches and everything. I couldn't tell how it handles reporting. Like you can report in the app or anything with evidence from the box. That'd be pretty cool. But it didn't seem like, it's hard to tell. I need to download it.
Right.
Looks pretty cool though.
Be nice. All right. Another question from the Rhino. He asked about, he had 2 and 1. What will be the next big competitive game? Can we all agree in terms of, I'm assuming he's talking console since our community is mostly console, but let's say large scale, I'm sorry, not large scale, large PC title. Colin, go.
PC.
I got mine in my mind.
Heroes of the Storm, probably.
Yes! That's going to be the next big one.
But it's kind of going to be like, how do you define big, right?
Yeah.
But I think that'll be the next sizable one.
I think you're right. And
there's not really any other one I can think of that would compete with it.
Yeah. So
yeah, I'm pretty confident saying Heroes of the Storm.
We're both in agreement with Heroes of the Storm for PC. Console, go.
And does Halo 2 Anniversary count? Or Halo, or Master Chief Collection?
No, Master Chief Collection doesn't count. Because they're fucking giving the beta for the game that I think is going to be.
Okay, I'll say this then. I don't think any game in the next 2 or 3 years will be large enough to be considered like a big esports title on console. And that's like, I'm throwing out FIFA and stuff, like sports games, which don't really get lumped in, or fighting games that don't really get lumped in with the console community as much. Obviously, there's going to be some fighting games that'll rise and fall over the next couple of years. Like probably the next Street Fighter will be big whenever that comes out, which I think will probably be another year or two. Actually, that's probably the only one, now that I think about
Smash. New Smash.
Smash, yeah. Smash is going to be... Yeah, Smash is probably the answer to the question, if you want to be all-inclusive. But, like, next console shooter, I don't see anything happening for another couple of years at least. And it's really going to come down to... I said it before, it hasn't actually happened, but there haven't been any first-party big titles yet. But it's going to come down to Microsoft and Sony ponying up when it comes to esports dollars. And really, it's going to be whichever company kind of embraces that. It could be Destiny. For all we know, it could be a year from now that they throw tons of money at Destiny. And that is enough to turn the corner. Even though the game doesn't really work competitively. Like, that's all it takes is the money, I feel like, from a first party to kind of push a game on console shooters currently into the spotlight. As far as, like, playability, like maybe Titanfall 2, I'm not really banking my money on it, though, because they didn't treat competitive well in the first one. and maybe Gears if it ponies off of Halo.
Okay. Man, Colin gave a complex answer, so I feel like I have to match it.
I'm ignoring COD, by the way, because we said next big esports.
Next big esports.
I wouldn't
right.
count a COD sequel. I wouldn't count Halo.
Exactly. We can't call Call of Duty a next big. I mean, obviously, Advanced Warfare is going to do COD Championship, right? Because they've already established that that's going to be a thing.
I'll say it's going to be COD and Halo for the next year, and probably realistically for the next 2 or 3 years.
So my answer, I think for shooter is probably Halo 5 as the next big competitive shooter. You know, they have all the pieces in place. They have the team. They have the X-Pros. Like, the game seems like it's catering towards that. The problem I have with selecting Halo is that it's limited to the fucking Xbox. And we're not going to... Yes, it does. Matter.
I mean, it matters. It matters.
It matters.
But not when you're talking about, like, what the next esport game is.
It matters to me.
Because the multi-plat titles aren't spending money at all.
Call of Duty. What do you mean?
Except for COD.
And that's all you need. That's all I need as an example to say, look, who's doing it big right now?
Yeah, it would help, but still, Halo will be beyond everything else.
Yeah,
because there's no one else is spending on console.
Okay. I can agree with that. So that'll keep Halo there. My concern is that because Halo is limited to the Xbox, we're never going to see Halo. For all of the people that want it to eclipse Call of Duty, it's just not going to eclipse Call of Duty. It won't ever do it because it's limited to Microsoft's consoles. That is inevitable. Like, it's a numbers game, purely a numbers game, and it
could eclipse it if for some reason COD started slipping. Like, in that case, even if the player base was larger, then like if Activision suddenly stopped spending on Championship, and some of the players stopped playing and it started to slowly kind of atrophy away. In that case, Halo could get bigger just because, again, there's nothing else. There is nothing else on consoles right now for console FPS besides Halo and COD for competitive.
Yeah, here's what I would say to that. Call of Duty...
Halo is the second largest by default.
Yes, it is.
And it's going to remain that way.
Halo and Call of Duty fall victim to the same thing, though, right? You're talking about them falling off. Like, both of them are set up to fall off because they are continuations of a story that is basically franchises that have been driven into the ground to the most. I mean, they're just milking it. Not necessarily saying that Halo is bad, but
you could argue Halo's having a resurgence, or that COD is starting to go in a different direction.
That's a fair argument, but I think that we would still see the same type of content / gamer fatigue on the franchise that would keep it from ever rising to a point where it was eclipse Call of Duty in terms of all-time peak. And if it was on multiple platforms, I feel like that argument would be harder to make. Like, I feel like Halo would be relevant longer because more people would have the game, right? Like, and especially we say this all the time on PlayStation has nothing. What do they have? They have Destiny now. They have nothing. They have no shooters. Nothing.
Yeah.
So you throw Halo on Sony, like, they would go bonkers.
You know what?
Nuts.
If you want a wild card, a dark horse, I guess.
Smite? Are you going to say
a
Smite?
Dark horse submission for console FPS?
Oh, console FPS.
Rainbow Six Siege. If Ubisoft were to get behind esports big for the title, it is a major brand that has some esports legacy. It's being made with a kind of esports-friendly design approach, I'd say. I think that's one which could, if they decide to spend for it, and again, like, that's really what it comes down to on the console FPS side of things, because it's not going to fund itself based on the models that console FPS developers are using, which I feel like are kind of antiquated at this point. Yeah, so I'd say, like, that's the one game that has a chance.
Okay, I would agree with that. Fighting games,
and still, Ubisoft hasn't done it yet, so
no,
I would be surprised. I'd be surprised if that.
And it's weird that they haven't, because they sponsor the Frag dolls, who are also.
And they're usually all over esports, just they never commit to it and they never actually spend on it, right? But you always hear it. It always comes up every time there's a shooter that comes out. Yeah. And they have a really active community team, but it's really weird they haven't addressed it at all.
And let's not forget they were working with what the hell is the league that you and Danny were playing in? For Assassin's Creed.
Talking about Virgin Gaming?
Virgin Gaming. They were working with Virgin Gaming.
They
Assassin's Creed, so
like, there's interest, just they haven't gone big. They're also running, I think, the The next level, is that what it was? The at the trade shows?
After trade, yeah,
I think
yeah.
that's Ubisoft. Yeah.
Um, so I also got to mention Smash, new Street Fighter. I think are both valid. We got to see what the community embraces because Smash, that community is very, very eclectic. I'm going to use that word. They have their specific games that they're going to play. They will play whatever is the best game, and that's what they're going to play. So if they don't like the new Smash, might as well toss it out the window. The interesting thing about that is it seems like Nintendo is actually trying to throw some the money behind esports for Smash specifically. So we got to see how that pans out.
I'd say it won't matter because I think that the attention and the resurgence of Smash with the new game will also help boost melee tournaments or brawl
Yep.
tournaments.
Yep.
Like it'll all trickle down to the rest of it, and it's going to get a nice boost.
I'd agree.
But it's hard to like say, yeah, Smash is the next big esport. Just I don't see that phrase. Like the phrase is kind of weird because it's been around for so long.
Yeah. Uh, so to recap, PC, I think we both agree Heroes of the Storm. Console, I think we can definitively say Halo 5 as a shooter, followed by Smash or the new Street Fighter, whatever that's going to be for fighting games on next gen. See, Markin3308, our boy Markin. He wants us to discuss lack of verticality in multiplayer, I'm assuming shooters, and how it affects the flow of a match and strategies. Well, the interesting thing about verticality is I feel like it's on the resurgence. Wouldn't you say?
Sorry, what was that?
What you thought? Yeah, the verticality in multiplayer and shooters is probably on the is on a resurgence as of late, but how it affects flow of matches and strategies.
It's kind of broad.
Yeah, I mean, look,
There's a lot of games. There's a lot of games of verticality that have been around. It's just, yeah, I'm not even sure that verticality ever really went away. It was just the games which are popular didn't necessarily have it.
Yeah, so I think we're seeing a resurgence in the popular games that are using more vertical space to explore their games. The first one being Titanfall. I think the only thing that I noticed is like people that weren't used to it had a hard time adjusting to that type of play. And people that were used to it like that really took off. How it changes the flow of a match, I mean, it just makes players have to worry about more 3D space, looking above them and below them. Obviously makes people miss more shots. You have to worry about shooting all over the place instead of just linear on in a straight line. So in strategies, dude, it's at that point it's just about the map, right? Like vertical, like strategies are more like if we broke down our Gears of War strategies, Colin, like when we were, I would say at the pinnacle of our strategic mastery was probably right at the end of Gears of War 2 when we were doing all types of crazy stuff with like, or even back when they had smoke stuns. You start talking about some of the stuff that we were doing there. Titanfall, I didn't feel like it was overly complex. So I mean, strategies is more about the game mode,
and the weapons and all sorts of other stuff.
Yeah, so that's a hard one to throw verticality into, and I couldn't really assess that. But it's an interesting question. Abram said to discuss the games we'll be playing. The Division, Sunset Overdrive, new COD. Sunset Overdrive is probably going to be a rental for me. The only way I would get it is if I could get it at like the freemium, free 99 price, or if I could rent it. I don't know if it's going to be in Redbox. So that's the only way I would probably play that game. The Division isn't coming out for a while, and I would say based on Ubi's track record of the past year with some of their big titles and their delivery, I don't know if I'm as hype as for the game as I once was. Like, I don't know. I got to see more of the game. I'm still excited for it, but I don't know.
All the stuff I was excited for it are like the online and matchmaking component and like how all the systems come together, which it sounded like haven't actually been made. They was just like part of their demo. So I'm still a little hesitant because, like you said, stuff changes with them. But yeah, I'm still excited for it. It's
Yeah,
just I'm pulling the
I think you only play a
expectations
lot.
back until I see hard details of how it works.
New Call of Duty. Look, I'm actually really anxious to play Advanced Warfare. And if I don't like it, which is probably likely, I won't play it. Like I'll buy it. It'll be that is going to be my throwaway $60. So I'm hoping that it's something that I can play for a little while. If not, then I'll be on Halo nonstop. Actually, probably Halo and Destiny.
I was gonna buy it right away. I might wait for impressions from you guys first, just because I got burned on Black Ops 2.
Yeah,
I bought it to support esports. Is pretty much my main reason of buying it because they did all that league play stuff. And then I played like 3 games and wasn't a fan at all. So I might wait. And I know I'm getting Master Chief Collection, so it's kind of like 1 week later I'll have something to play.
yeah. Sir, not so brave. COD Advanced Warfare looks sick. Titanfall 2 has come early. I agree. I feel like if Sledgehammer is going to continue down the Advanced Warfare line, then Titanfall is going to have to continue to try to differentiate itself from Advanced Warfare's line of games.
Just needs to be weapons, man. I can't believe they shipped with military weapons.
Colin, you'll get your lightning gun again one day.
That's all I want is to be running along walls, firing a lightning gun, or firing a shot combo.
You'll get it. I promise.
Man, or railgun. Whew. Could you imagine just Titanfall with Quake weapons? Okay, it would have been the best game ever made.
It would. It would be so good.
It would have been the best game ever made. Titanfall with Quake weapons would have been the shit. Would have been the shit.
So
Would
here's
have
a
been the
bit.
shit. Just picture it in my mind, man. Mid-air rockets as people go flying. Whew.
It would have been nasty. How big of a drop do you expect in Destiny's player base when games like Call of Duty, Advanced Warfare, and Halo release? That's from that boy Sleepy D.
I think we threw some numbers around a couple weeks ago.
Well, the number of active players still playing the game was 3.2 million.
Yeah,
Been
I think,
logged in.
I think I threw out 1.5 as
Think
my.
it's gonna get cut in half.
I think I said
I think-
1.5 to 2.
I would agree with that, and I'm gonna say that we're gonna see a huge drop off, and it's going to be mostly on the Xbox side.
Yeah,
I think PlayStation is pretty safe.
there's a pretty big COD player base on PlayStation as well, though.
I agree. I think there's a pretty big player base. The interesting thing about Destiny is I don't actually think there's a lot of people that are playing Destiny that would also be like big fans of Call of Duty.
That's
That is my
also true.
guess. I feel like Halo is actually more in line with some of the fans, at least on Xbox, that are playing Destiny. So when Halo Master Chief Collection drops, they're probably going to abandon that and go play Halo and be Master Chief versus continuing on being a random Guardian. So I think Xbox is going to get hit hard. I think PlayStation will be fine. Ultimately, I think that there's still going to be a pretty damn big player base on Destiny coming out of the holiday. It's going to be mostly on PlayStation, Sony systems.
Yeah, the gap in console sales will dictate that it won't be that big of a hit because Xbox is less.
Yep. That's another great point, Jason.
But I still think COD is going to take a big hit out of them on PlayStation.
I don't think it's going to be that big. I hope they do another update with the player base that's still playing the game. Like, hey, we still got 1 million players playing online. That's a big deal to me.
Do you think they'll report numbers again after
No, I don't.
after the drop?
Nope.
So whatever we say here is truth then. Until proven otherwise. Unless they change their number, they're like, we have 4.5 million daily or weekly active users. Is what they'll switch it to.
I think it's safe to say that Destiny, regardless of everyone's opinion on the game, has solidified itself as a next big IP. I can't say the same for Titanfall. I don't feel like it had the staying power to say that it's going to be a huge IP. Whereas Destiny, I feel like, based on everything they've shown, based on people playing, I think people have greater expectations for playing more Destiny than they do playing Titanfall 2 or anything else for that matter. So I'm actually kind of impressed. Kind of impressed. I don't. I think I said last week or the week before that I felt like Borderlands might chip into Destiny. I don't think that happened.
Yeah, just to riff on chat, I think that COD will take some players from people that quit playing Ghosts, but may be interested in a new COD that gets hyped up. You know what I mean? Because Ghosts obviously had quite the fall off in player base for COD, but I think those guys might go back from Destiny if AW is good.
What you just did, KO, analysts get paid for. Yeah, we talk about Michael all the time. We talk about Mike, old Mikey Mike, getting paid. The next question from that sleepy boy, or that boy Sleepy D. How will Destiny tempt players to stay with new content? What all they have is like DLC, like that's it, right?
They need to do some cool shit.
Trials of Osiris.
I think they need like big story content to pull people back in, like some nice trailers showing an expanded story. You know what I mean? I think that's the kind of stuff that'll get people interested. But I think that's the player base that's playing Destiny. I feel like
They want story.
yeah,
I agree.
lots of people that were expecting something like Halo and didn't get it in terms of story.
Story, yeah. I don't really know if there's going to be anything that they're going to do to get players back. I mean, once you're gone, it's like
It's hard to come back.
It is so hard. Like, this is one of the things we talk about in game dev all the time. Once that initial impression is over, like if you don't get people to continue to play the game and they're gone off another game, it's so hard to get them to come back. It is so difficult, so difficult. So there's like very little that they can do, very little that they can do. I'm trying to think of a game. Colin, can you remember a game that you had not played for a while that released some content that you went back and played? Just check it out.
Dota, actually. I didn't play Dota for like 9 or 10 months. And then some of the like new patches and tournament features and all that stuff got me interested.
Okay.
But that's probably the only one. I can't think of another off the top of my head. Karam 3D.
Get the fuck out of here.
That was a tournament that got me coming back.
I honestly, I cannot think of a single game.
No, man.
Stop
Once
playing.
you're done, you're done, right?
Played. Yeah, man, I can't think of one. Fuck. I can't think of one. I'm sorry, guys. I don't think I have a game that I left for a long time and came back to. And again, I don't know if that's indicative of us as or if we can broaden that to everyone else, but I feel like that could be a pretty generalized statement. Like, hey, it's hard, man. We get trained.
And I've tried too. Like I tried to go play Team Fortress again, just because I knew there was a ridiculous amount of content versus when I played back when it first released. But I just couldn't get into it because there's too much at that point. You know what I mean? Like at some point, it's like there's just too much shit.
You feel like you're too far behind?
Yeah, like I have to learn way too much to know what's happening. And you remember it in your mind as like this really simple thing, you know, and then all of a sudden there's so much more. I imagine it's more of an MMO thing. Like you can probably have quite a few people who said, yeah, I went back to WoW after the expansion released. Like the numbers show that happens.
Oh, wait.
Their subscription numbers.
Does the Master Chief Collection count?
No, it doesn't count.
Does the HD remastered version of a game count?
No. Doesn't count.
Then I can't count Halo. That would be the next one, which I haven't played yet.
You're paying $60, right? Like, yeah. It doesn't count.
So yeah, I can't. Sorry guys, can't think of one. So Destiny might be lost cause for people that they've lost to get them to come back. Which game is the best new IP so far this gen? Man, that's from LOL Gaming. There's just like, it's way too early. It's just way too early.
I'll say Titanfall.
I would probably agree with that. That or Destiny. And Destiny because I've been playing
Titanfall
it so
doesn't
much.
deserve the rap it gets.
I feel like it doesn't have a bad rap though.
People exaggerate it, I think.
So, Tricks on Twitter had mentioned like a couple of games that are coming that would add to this, and he actually missed one that I feel like we might not see this for 2-3 years. But he said some of his games were. He said Sunset Overdrive. I'm gonna scratch that one off the list. Evolve, played the alpha. Probably gonna scratch that one off the list. The Division, No Man's Sky. He didn't mention Battlefront.
Well, you can't call Battlefront a new IP.
Well, I guess you're right. New IP, but I mean, it's like, I guess you're right. I wanted to throw Battlefront in there because it's gonna feel like a new IP.
It's not though.
It's gonna feel like one.
When you say that, you mean it's going to feel different than the original? No, just straight up IP. I can't name a better new IP than Titanfall across anything. I mean that's released. Like obviously there's some coming up.
Yeah. So yeah, I would probably agree. I think Titanfall probably takes the cake, but there's not a lot to choose from. To be honest, there's not a whole lot to choose from right now. Previous community backlash towards always-on gaming, and the lack of backlash towards Destiny's always-on functions. This is from Cherry Boy Hunter, who was in the... There, he's still there. So... Previous community backlash.
It's different arguments, right?
Yeah.
Everyone was arguing that Always On sucks because if you want to play a single-player game, why do I have to be online? But Destiny is a multiplayer game where it's all about, well, it's supposed to be all about the social community interaction. It doesn't actually pan out that way at times, but it is a multiplayer game at the core. So, like, comparing those doesn't really make sense to me. I'm trying to think of a single-player game that came out recently which required an internet connection always on. I swear there was one, but I can't remember off the top of my head. I mean, like SimCity had that requirement, right? That was a single-player game that required an internet connection, and
That was the last one.
And everyone had a fit, and everyone still raised up in arms about it.
That was this past spring.
Yeah, I think that's the last one I can think of.
But they had launch issues,
and yeah, they had launch issues on top of that.
So I mean, I feel like. Look, I feel like you're always going to get backlash if you have an always-on game or always-online game that releases and then it doesn't work. Drive Club, Colin.
Yeah.
Which has a good mix. That's another one.
But you're not prevented from playing it.
Exactly.
The issue there is that you bought it because it's a big multiplayer, has a huge multiplayer social component, and you're not able to use it.
And
but still, it's not the same as it's not the same as having a single-player game where you just can't play.
That is true. I feel like that's probably the closest thing that I can think of that has been relevant in like the last couple of weeks.
Yeah. But that's still like, you could almost argue that Drive Club is a multiplayer game.
Yeah.
Based on the way it was pitched.
So, I mean, the big backlash was with the consoles was like you required internet connection, which is I think where most of the backlash was. You don't really hear it too much in games anymore because I feel like as a collective community, we're kind of getting used to it, despite what people are saying. Like, games are just releasing, and they're not really, like, you're not thinking about it, I don't think. Like,
there's just not many cases where a single-player game needs an internet connection, so developers don't really make it happen very often.
Yeah.
SimCity tried to use it as, like, oh, we're doing computations in the cloud while you're playing, but then people proved that wrong anyways. Like, you didn't actually need to do that because it's not really doing shit. Which is what the outrage over SimCity was.
Yeah.
Like, if SimCity released and everyone was like, oh shit, you actually need the cloud to make these features work, then it might have been a different reaction, especially if it was working at launch, right?
Yeah.
So I feel like you have to prove that it's needed, you know?
I feel like it's like 90% if you have launch issues. 10% everything else. So that's really, that would be my generalized answer for that, Cherry Boy. And then he says opinions on the future of games that cannot be played offline.
I mean, in the future, We're all gonna have personal internet connections all the time.
I'm gonna have a T3 coming out of my ass.
Oh yeah, it'd be out of your ass, all right.
I will be my own internet connection in the future.
Where else would Time Warner put it?
That's it for the subscriber topics. We can go ahead to chat right now. So appreciate you guys dropping those. Very glad we could get through those in a timely manner. Q&A. Arctic, what do you? This is from Pot Even. What do you think about the lifespan of consoles this gen? They're not overbuilt. They're basically a $607 PC. Are they even that much? I thought they're like a $500 PC. So in 1 year, they will be less powerful than a 400, 500 PC. Personally, I don't know if I don't say we've reached the pinnacle of graphic fidelity, but I feel like the leaps and bounds that we make right now are going to be so marginal that ultimately the big things that we're looking for now is like memory and processing power. And I think what we noticed in the past was these huge leaps in graphical quality. And so we were able to make each assessment of the console generations be like, oh, this is way more powerful because the game looks better. And in the future, I feel like it's going to be a question about what games can do and the tech behind them. So, you know, having a world like No Man's Sky, right? Like this big, huge universe where you might not run into the same player and it could be millions of players playing. That's really compelling tech. And that sounds like something that hasn't been done before. For a seamless experience. I mean, obviously you can throw MMOs in there, right? But I feel like that'll be a different experience that we haven't seen before. So I feel like the future of consoles is more about the software and the games, like what people kind of do with their games, what they try to pull off with the tech, versus trying to build a stronger PC.
Yeah, I mean, to me, it's more about like it's getting to the point where it's about systems and online components and like how we utilize that tech, which wasn't there previously.
Right.
Like that's the stuff which I think is the next area to innovate in games is to kind of start building out those systems and making them more robust. But right now, all of the game studios are more geared towards content production in terms of like large art teams. You think about Ubisoft; they have hundreds, I think thousands. I think they're over the 1,000 mark of people, and many of those are artists being able to crank out content. So like they're in this awkward spot where they have all these people that are there to do that, and they have been continually pushing it. And like that's been a big marketing thing is like new graphics looks ridiculous, but now it's like, hey, in order for us to push it to that next level, we need these ridiculous rigs that we just can't pack into a console right now. So I feel like it's more of like shifting what is important to gamers and where we innovate versus like, yeah, they just need to keep getting beefier and beefier. Because like you said, the graphical improvement is pretty minor, really.
Yeah, it really is.
Like to my grandma walking past the TV, she probably wouldn't be able to tell the difference between something like a late Xbox 360 game versus an Xbox One game right now.
Yep.
Like there's probably not. Even a PC game running at like crazy specs, you probably wouldn't be able to tell. We can tell and we can split hairs. We can be like, oh, this is running at 900p instead of 1080p.
Yeah.
But to the average person, you wouldn't really be able to tell. And 60 FPS is important for gameplay purposes. But again, it's not something that someone would really be able to notice at a glance. So it's no longer like a big marketing thing. Well, it's entirely a marketing thing, but it's no longer a visual thing that you can show to people and be like, look how insanely realistic this looks, because it's not really where things are going anymore.
Yeah, and another point I want to add to this is talking about visual stuff. Like, how ridiculous is it that, like, did you see Apple's Retina display is like 500K now, right?
Yeah.
Like, it's like, okay, look, like we get it. You have more pixels in your picture, but like the quality of the picture is not that. Look, it's not that much different. Like
Yeah.
that's the point. I think a lot of people like some people are gonna, like you said, nitpick on that. 1080p versus 900p, as Major Black mentioned there. Yeah, sure, people can nitpick that. I think the biggest thing that we're looking for is frames per second, right? Like we need to start hitting the 60 FPS benchmark. Period.
For
No
multiplayer
questions
games,
asked.
single
Yes,
player,
you can get away with 30.
yeah.
You can get away with 30. But multiplayer games, you need to start hitting the 60 FPS benchmark. That needs to be a thing. And I feel like the games that aren't doing that probably I think a little disappointing. But overall, I mean, I'm just not seeing these huge leaps and bounds. I think tech like Oculus, hell, what Colin linked to me on Twitter, that Magic Leap thing looks fucking amazing. Things like that are more along the lines of where I feel like we should start looking
Yeah.
for innovation
That's the next big visual leap,
for
right?
visuals. Yep,
Is going to
visual
be
leaps.
Oculus, immersion, or augmented reality stuff.
Augmented reality.
Yeah, that's the next visual leap. And anything that's happening now on consoles or PC is really just kind of a precursor to that, I feel like. Because once you get the kind of like PC fidelity into a Oculus type situation, and you're able to run that really smoothly and make it all work and all the stuff's been worked out, like that's the next visual leap. But you still have the marketing issue of I can't show that to people. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
unless everyone has their personal Oculus at home, it's really hard to market. So it's kind of an interesting position we're in, where it's kind of this weird transitional phase between technologies, where we need to market color televisions, but there's only like one color television in the store, and it's only be able to see it by one person, right?
Yep. The interesting dilemma that they have.
Yeah.
What is your favorite Nicolas Cage movie?
Nicolas Cage movie? Con Air, probably.
I like The Rock.
Make sure I'm not missing any. Hold on. Con Air's way up there for me, though.
Con Air.
Oh, shit! Leaving Las Vegas.
That's a good.
Another good one.
You know what one I really liked as a young kid, and that I think about it now and I still really like, is Family Man.
Family Man.
Yeah. You guys following DC and Marvel movie lineups the next few years? I've been loosely following it. It's bad. I've been loosely following it. The interesting thing I was looking at, I think maybe last week, was they were talking about Iron Man and Robert Downey. Like, there's always going to be an Iron Man, but Tony Stark is like is Robert Downey. So if he doesn't sign on as Iron Man / Tony Stark, then what does that do to the franchise of some of the Marvel movies? Because he's such a perennial figure, and all their stories are interwoven. So it's like, if one person leaves, is it catastrophic to the franchise, or is it a big deal at all? Like, will anyone notice? And we've already seen kind of like that. Like, we're starting to see some reboots, specifically with like Spider-Man, right? Like the new Spider. I don't even like the new kid, whatever that does it. And then there's DC just hasn't hit it for me yet. They're just bad.
Gone in 60. Damn. Forgot about Gone in 60 Seconds.
Is good. Yeah, I forgot about that. That one's good.
Lord of War is the other one which came up to me.
Yeah.
I think it might be Lord of War, Con Air, and Gone in 60 Seconds. Probably like my top three.
But my favorite
But
Nicolas movie.
But Wicker Man gets all the credit.
My favorite is actually Vampire's Kiss.
Vampire's Kiss?
Yeah.
I'm a vampire.
I'm a vampire. I'm a vampire. I'm a vampire. Thoughts on games using cinematic black bars like Evil Within and The Order 1886. I don't particularly care, man.
Don't care. Going to attend any cons in the near future? I'm not. Kale's probably all over those.
Man, I'll be so busy next year. Like, I'll have cons coming out of my ears.
Ugh.
I'm just hoping I don't get terribly sick next year. Traveling a lot.
Stay out of Dallas.
They're not going to treat me if I go there.
Did you see the RKO vines? I saw them. They're pretty funny. Pretty funny.
Is that all we got? Any more questions? No? 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 Colin? Before we leave, first off, I'm sorry, YouTube. I have to sign off. We hope you guys enjoyed the show. The reason I'm signing off is I have to show some trailers for some movies. And, well, it's not really a movie. It's a thing that I can't show. But, sorry,
if you show the Hatred trailer, I will kill you.
I'm not showing the Hatred trailer. It's movies.
Did you see what I did there?
Yeah, I saw what you did there. You're lucky we're not in the UK. Your ass will be going to jail for 2 years. Fresh charges.
I cracked myself up.
So yeah, sorry YouTube. I hope you guys enjoyed the show. Make sure to give it a like. We'll see you guys next week.